A sad note for all the women here. Sorry, Keith is not here, and thus it is not Naked Friday.
Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast, a Washington football podcast by fans for fans. With your hosts, Jesse Martin.
You want to play what? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
John Taylor.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
And Keith Gray.
The King, your majesty.
And now here's your host, John Taylor.
Hey, everybody, that's me, John Taman, and I guess I got about 2 weeks left to make a brand new intro for this show. I am working on it. It is on my list of things to do. We got a big one for you guys today. It is game day, and we have a very special guest down here just below me right there. There's my friend Ken Johannesen, also known as the Burgundy Burner. Sorry about that, man. I have been chatting with you, it seems like, for 25 years, I think.
You know, I go back to the old ESPN message board. I think that was 1998. Yeah. I had a different name on there, but I remember a few people. And then someone said about 2000, 2001, go to this place called Extreme Skins. Some guys just started it. So I was just so busy in life. That was before all my medical junk. And so I went there. I didn't become a member there until 2007. But, yeah, I would say – that's, but I was already aware of your cartoons back in the early 2000s. So I would say we've known each other at least 16 years.
At least. I mean, at least. We've talked football for at least that long, and we've talked other things too. All right, so over here to my what is that over there? That's Jesse on my. I don't never know. I get all turned around backwards. He's over there now, Jesse. I hear that you were kind of upset with some things that Eric Bieniemy said at practice, and so you went to Ron Rivera and had a little cry about it. What? That wasn't you? I thought that was you.
It wasn't me.
Yeah?
No.
That wasn't you? All right. What about you, Scott? Were you worried about? By the way, here's our friend from Barrow and Furnace, UK, Scott Hotley. I just love that. It's so pompous.
It is indeed. Yeah, I'm fine, John. Thank you for having me on, as always, both you and Jesse. It's great to finally speak to you, Ken. I've seen you on many a pod with Kyle and the boys over at the Burgundy Zone, so it's great to meet you and good to speak to you. But yeah, it wasn't me who went to Eric Bieniemy and asked about the softness of the players, shall we say. Yeah, interesting topic, but for me, a little bit of clickbait. There's not a lot going on there, really, is there?
I kind of agree. I do have one thing I want to mention. Since you are now obviously back in the UK, away from the blistering heat of the African and it looks like you're back to your normal color, which means there's probably a peeled version of Scott just off in the corner. It's like an entire skin thing.
I gave the skin to the Illuminati, so they can.
I bet you did.
Anyway, sorry. No, that's a different podcast. That's a different.
They put it right up there in the seed bunker. All right, so Ken, let's start right off. What did you think of this Eric Bieniemy flap?
47 years ago at this time, I was getting ready for my senior year of high school, and I was doing two-a-days with the team. I was on the football team. Early in the morning, early in the evening, two-a-days. And we don't even have that in the NFL anymore.
No, not at all.
We have just a couple hours in the morning. Then everybody goes off to do their, take their bubble baths or whatever. I don't know. I'm like, are you that pampered? I will say
the
this.
Bubble bathtub.
Yeah, whatever they do, But anyway, it was. By the time I would get home in the evening after all that, I was going to bed. I was like, I was exhausted. Next day, get up and do it again. And the defensive backs coach that I had in high school used more language than Eric Bieniemy, and we didn't think anything about it. Same thing with all the other coaches, the head coach, all that. That's just the way it was back then. I don't know what changed along the way, but I will say this. I'm glad. Yeah, exactly. I will say this. I'm glad to see many former players that had Bieniemy as a coach come forward and say, hey, if you want to be a winner, you're going to be a winner with him.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill came forward.
That's exactly
stick it out and go from there. But, if you really have a problem with it, then he's not the coach for you. But you're not going to be a winner. I mean, that's what it, paraphrasing everything, that's what it all came down to. Mm-hmm. But what you will learn in the long run, that he's your best friend and strongest advocate as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
as long as you get out of the huddle on time.
Yeah. So that's what I learned in high school. After a while, I was like, okay, I'm really performing at a better level than what I thought I could. And it was because of the coaches. It was the tough love. They made it work. I had a chance to walk on at a Division I school. I did have a few scholarship offers, but I thought I was talented enough to make it Division I. After 8 days, I learned, no, I wasn't. And that was the end of my football career. But I look back on those times, and I'm glad I had that experience. It made me better, stronger, tougher, all of those things, and it's carried far into my life.
I tend to agree. I'm old school like that, and as well, I come from the days back in the day where if you drank any water, it was out of a bucket with a ladle, and if they let you have it, right? And then Corey Stringer happened, and now everybody has to have water, which I completely agree with. All right, so Jesse, let me throw it over to you and see. So did Ron do the right thing? Was this an overreaction? And I mean, just what is your take on the whole damn thing?
I think it's a complete overreaction. Of course, look, I didn't have a problem with what Ron said. Maybe he fumbled his words and didn't really get his full entire point across.
Got to run laps.
Ron's never been good with the media. Okay, he really hasn't. Going back to his Carolina days, and you got to think too, Carolina media is totally different than any of your big city medias like Washington, New York, LA, stuff like that. But he's never been good with really public speaking, and some people are just not like that. And I just think he just didn't explain himself enough, and maybe he said a little bit too much, but. The fact of the matter is, I loved that he called out the players. Like, hey, if you got a freaking problem, we're trying to win here, man. You go talk to your coach. I know what he's doing. I'm fine with what he's doing. Everybody's got different coaching styles. Listen, Coach Sadu, my high school, one of my high school defensive coordinators, I couldn't stand him. He dogged this shit out of all of us. Coach Walton, our head coach, nicest guy in the freaking world. I mean, you could talk to him about anything, but everybody was afraid about Coach Sadu. But Coach Sadu, he got into your ass and he pushed you and pushed you and pushed you. He wanted you to make better, and that's exactly what Eric Bieniemy is doing. And if these guys, there's so many college teams, there's so many different coaches that have different coaching styles. These guys come in. Say Terry McLaurin, for instance, Urban Meyer, he's a hard ass. He is a hard ass.
He's an ass.
Yeah, well, that too. But
he's an ass.
But that's not to say that he wasn't a good college coach.
In college,
professional coach.
In college, he can act like a total ass, and they have to deal with it.
Sure. But the fact of the matter is some of these players, and I don't even like saying this really because, we're not there. We don't go through what they're going through, but they're pampered nowadays. They have, like Ken was saying, there's no more two-a-days. I mean, high school are still doing two-a-days to this day. I mean, they are, but these guys go out for 2.5 hours and then go, like Ken said, take bubble baths and sit in the classroom for the rest of the time. So
do you really think there's any controversy over whether any of them get Calgon or
zero,
Mr. Bubble?
Zilch.
I told you I wanted Calgon. God damn it.
No, I don't see any controversy whatsoever. I don't see any rift like the mainstream media is trying to say that there is a rift between Bieniemy and Ron. I don't see where you could see that whatsoever. I just don't see that at all. No. So, yeah, I just think it's much ado about nothing.
All right. So
coming back on your.
Did you get the tough love from your cricket coaches?
Cricket, no, not at all. It's a very English game. Obviously, me like Ken, that led on to my love for the game that we always call it. It's your game, not our game. I'm just a spectator.
It's everybody's game. We are the human race.
Rugby was what I was brought up on, which again is rugby union's a big sport for us over here. And like Ken, I played professionally for 6 months in the highest level of English rugby, and I knew after training session 1 I wasn't good enough. But again, it's different, and I understand that people react differently, and people have learning styles and how they learn differently. Because I taught military recruits for 2.5 years, and you have to break them down. No, as in not cricket, as in actual military. So I was training.
Teaching them cricket.
No, teaching them how to be in the military, John. You know what I mean? I was on basic training. So I was a basic training instructor.
Would you mind getting that over that wall, please? Would you mind?
Can you run that stretcher? Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, you've got to break them down to make sure that they are, what you need them to be. And you break them down to a certain level and then bring them back up. This rift that is being brought between Eric Bieniemy and Ron Rivera, if the bond isn't that strong, then it's not going to work. And I don't think that is the case. I think we have to look at it in another perspective and say that Ron is probably saying, right, go and see your coach, because he wants Eric Bieniemy to be a head coach and to teach him everything there is to know about being a head coach behind the scenes, because ultimately we're trying to groom him to be our next head coach or be a head coach elsewhere. And if it doesn't work and they don't like that tough love, then get out of the building. You're not meant to be here. You know what I mean? If you don't want to win, don't be here. That's absolutely fine by me.
I also think we've become a sensitive society as well, too.
I agree with that, but
really,
and people do need that, Jesse. People do need that hand around the shoulder sometimes. Do you know what I mean? And that bit of reassurance, if you like, that you are doing the right thing.
And you see Eric Bieniemy doing that too in the conversations that he has when he pulls over after he gets into players, and he pulls them over and has those conversations. And like I said,
he was picked up on Mike telling Jahan Dotson that he thinks he has the tightest ass on the team, no matter what he yelled and what he said. So what I think is this: number one, we've seen this coaching staff call out players in public before, and we heard all the same fears and all the same, oh my God, Ron doesn't know what he's doing. He's a complete idiot. Right. And I watched Jamin Davis. Remember, we even talked about it on his show. I was like, what's he doing? We were like, both of us, what the hell is he doing? And Jamin Davis responded. Right. And in this case, so Ron opened up and talked a little bit to the media. I really didn't think he said anything that was all that terrible. However, and I also don't think that Ron is unaware that the media will take anything and run with it like there's sharks with blood in the water. Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So how was practice the next day? That's what I want to know, because I'm pretty sure everybody else got over it except for all the people out here that got their nipples all twisted up over it.
Yeah.
So I think that is dead and done. So Ken, dead, done, still alive? What do you think?
Well, I think they tried to keep it going a little bit yesterday with
media
the media. Yeah.
Okay.
They're trying to say there's another rift between Ron Rivera and Jason Wright. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they said that there was
Reed put something out as well too.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you think we are as fans? Are we really? You think we're really that stupid? What I think is going on is that for the first time in a very long time, we have normalcy within this organization, like the likes that we haven't seen in a long time, and the likes that the media, some of them haven't seen at all from this organization.
No.
I'm not going to call out any specific members, but right now they're looking for
just hint them to me. I'll call them out.
Yeah, they're trying to look for something, and it's just not there. Okay, maybe a little something, but honestly, it is not that huge of a deal. And I love that. Oh, here we go.
I didn't call out anybody except for that guy that ordered the last roll of fries, and I had to wait for him to make some new ones.
I shouldn't have gone this far with it. No, I really shouldn't have. Yeah, but seriously, they're trying to look for things that simply aren't there. I realize that they're a little bit frustrated because, again, there's a great degree of normalcy now in this organization, and there will be from this day forward for a long time to come. So,
I'll tell you, to knock on that, what I would say is our media is kind of scrambling, and national media too, because they always look for something juicy, and we always provide it to them. I would like to say just what Kyle said the other day on Twitter. Kyle excreted the other day that he thought, hey, how about a sigh of relief? This is all about football. This isn't just some bullshit that Dan did or some other nonsense that they found in the, on training facilities or what. This is some football stuff that we're hearing controversy about. So we've come a long way just
on
for
the
that.
field. It's about on the field.
Right.
So.
It's about on the
It's
field.
true. It is.
And honestly, I think it's over. And I don't think I'd be surprised if it was any of our serious starters. And, you'd alluded earlier, Ken, about how there's 2-a-days in the old days. And I made a joke about how you didn't get any water. And those things were true back in those days. But also back in those days, those guys after the season, they went out and got jobs as grave diggers or drove taxi cabs. Nowadays, this is a 24/7, 365 job. These guys stay in shape. When a guy got back to training camp in July, or they had 6 preseason games back then. When he got back to training camp in July, they had to work him into shape, which I don't think is so much the case anymore. So I think that that's one of the reasons why the NFLPA begged back on a lot of those heavy practices.
Yeah, back in the day also, preseason games weren't all at, the home stadiums. They went to regional sites.
Yeah.
I remember going to a game at Foreman Field in Norfolk, Virginia back in 1968 when I think they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was a fun game. It was a night game, about halfway through the preseason. And, I distinctly remember it was more than 4 games because my father said, we might be able to make a couple of more. We go one down to Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah,
it was the exhibition season.
6 preseason games.
They called it exhibition season, and that's why they were still selling the product.
So I think we did go to one other game, and I just can't remember which one it is, but I distinctly remember the one at Foreman Field. Washington did win. I remember Sonny playing about 4 or 5 plays, and that was about it. So nothing's really changed in that regard. But, that's just something the team did, and they had to do that because, like you said, they had off-season jobs.
Yeah.
They
had to.
They had to. And I'm glad that it changed to be more of a full-time thing for players because football is a rough sport.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
And I'll say I played 3 years of high school. And I tried college, but that didn't work out. But I feel things today from those 3 years
Me too.
that are going to be still with me and will be with me for the rest of my life. Nothing serious, but I do feel it once in a while. So I can't imagine going on through 3 or 4 years of college, then however many years of the pros. And I read something about Charles Leno the other day and what he dealt with throughout the season last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about, that he couldn't even pick up his young child late in the season. His wife said something about that. And I'm like, wow.
Well, you got to realize, though, the kid was putting on a spin move and Charles's feet are getting slow. So the kid was getting through every time. And his wife was right. She should have yanked him out of the game.
Well, I just think that, and I said something earlier about complaining and bubble baths and all that, but honestly, it's not an easy sport. It's the toughest sport out there in the United States. The toughest sport worldwide, I'll grant you, probably English football, soccer as it's known, however you want to put it.
No, they run a lot. They run
a lot. They do run a lot. And as Andy Burrows just brought up there, Kenny said, imagine the difference of just playing 5 minutes in the preseason, then being taken off. Now, that is a totally different way that we work. Our starters, if you like, or the 11.
You guys got to get ready to run for 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They will run. And it's the same with rugby's like that as well. For 80 minutes solid, you are literally contact all the time. You're probably running at least 6-7K. And that was really when I started watching the NFL and watching football as a whole. And Burrows will tell you this as well. When you see the games over here in London, or you go to FedEx, which we were lucky enough to do last year, and we're going to do again in 4 weeks' time, so I can't wait. When you go across and you see the game and you see it stop for the advertisements, you see the people who've never seen the game before. and they suddenly realize, well, why are these people stopping?
Right.
Why is there a timer on the side of the field? Oh, that's just because the adverts are on, and they don't understand that the commercials are on in the US, and people are going to get like refreshments or whatever, and they just stop, and that's why a lot of it has exploded over here over the last 10 years, the game as a whole, but that's why a lot still can't get into the game because it's just the timing of it.
What do they say that all told, there's like less than 2 minutes of actual action or less than 5 minutes of actual action. If you added up all the time between the whistles, right? There's not really a whole lot of time that they're actually playing. But in that time, I believe it was BMW did a study maybe 20 years ago where they determined that the average NFL player sustains the same concussive force as like 2 to 3 35-mile-an-hour head-on collisions, which doesn't sound like a lot until you double 35 miles an hour, and it's a 70-mile-an-hour head-on smack over and over and over again during the course of a game. So,
it's a violent sport, John, and CTE is a real thing. We're seeing people who, we're getting it now. I mean,
I know what his name is.
Become more violent over time too. Players have become bigger, stronger, and faster.
Oh, of course.
And that's going back on the 2-a-day. That's why they stopped doing 2-a-days for
and all the methamphetamine. They're crazy.
And when I look back on all the hits that I actually put out there, I always said that if I have a headache from that hit, I know the other guy has much worse. So I took pleasure in that.
Me too.
But I just want you to know that all the hits that I put out there, the hits that I got, that to this day, it doesn't affect me at all.
All right, let's see here. We'll give you one of those. Attaboy.
I'm here after hours for more just for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Tip your bartenders and waitresses. Attaboy.
That's exactly it.
All right, so we got a football game tonight, sort of. We got to practice against the Browns tonight. And I guess I'm just going to open it right up and say, okay, Scott, you're first on the list. What are you looking for?
So I'm looking – I don't know if we see Sam Howell. I'd like to see Sam Howell play. I'd like to see the fundamentals. Maybe one. I don't even know if it's a quarter, maybe a drive, and that'll do. It's going to be interesting because I'm not actually going to be able to watch the game. I've got it on my Game Pass.
I'm just going to ruin it for you. I'm going to text you every play.
I am in work in 7 hours. So I'm going to work in 7 hours' time.
Jesse, what are you looking for?
Yeah, no. I mean, first and foremost, no injuries. It was put out earlier today that first team offense is expected to play the first quarter unless the first drive or two ends in a touchdown. Then they'll pull out. But I just want to see the process. From Sam get in the huddle, out of the huddle, and no procedural penalties, which you're probably going to see, especially when the second team start coming in, and just the process of getting in and out of the huddle and getting the play called, see how smooth that is. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm really looking forward to seeing if Chase Young, he's got rid of that stutter step that he kind of got last year and the year before. Hopefully he's got rid of that and see some explosions. I think the rest of the defense, I'm not really worried about them, but I am curious to see, a couple plays from Chase Young.
Yeah.
Ken, I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. All right, so Ken, what are you looking for tonight?
I'm looking at rookies and second-year players. Someone like Percy Butler.
Yeah.
Christian Holmes. I want to see if they're ready to take the next step. Christian Holmes in the preseason and training camp last year was a stud.
Yeah, he
but
was.
Once we got, into the season, not so good. I mean, he was okay on special teams as well. He made some good plays there. But beyond that, not so much. But
there really wasn't a need for him because Forrest just kind of just exploded and he was so good.
So I think right now Holmes might be on the bubble.
Yeah.
So we need to see what he can do these next 2 or 3 weeks. As far as the rookies, obviously Forbes and Martin, we want to see what they will do, but I'm not too concerned about them. Someone I'm excited to see is Ricky Stromberg. I want to see if the hype that a lot of scouts placed on him this past year is true, and I believe it is. But we may get some questions answered. I think we know what we have with Chris Rodriguez. I think he was underdrafted. He was more. I had him rated more as a 4th rounder, so I'm not concerned about that. KJ Henry, I'm really interested in seeing what he will do.
Yeah.
Can he become a part of that rotation where there are a lot of bodies there? And I think James Smith-Williams really was stepping up more and more next year. So is there room for KJ Henry?
Someone's going to get a big name's going to get cut.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think, I hate to say this, I hate injuries, but when Efe Obada was lost, that helped a little bit in that regard. And I felt like it gave Andre Jones, our 7th rounder this year, that gives him a chance. But I still think he's someone that gets cut and probably goes to the practice squad.
You mean Bada? David Bada.
David Bada.
Yeah.
Efe Obada.
No, just 2.
It was David Bada that got tore the.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
But still, the point stands.
It's you're still
you're right.
Remains.
You're right.
How did I get that mixed up?
Sorry,
I'm not sure.
I've actually done
the same.
That's my guy. That's my guy. He's the British
and
guy.
What's so funny is I saw that video of all the guys getting on the plane today, and there goes Obada, and I saw that, and I didn't think anything about it. So how did I know why I got the names mixed up? They're so similar.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. That's
now I'm going to have that on my mind all night long.
Yeah. Don't worry.
I'll tell you what,
he is my guy as well.
What I'm looking for is, honestly, I'm looking at the 4, 5, and 6, 7 wide receivers.
Well done,
that's what I want to see.
I really don't want to see. I want to say about Andre Jones, 7th rounder. I think had he been drafted last year, let's say that he was reclassified to that draft, I think he makes the team. But with the depth that they have, I think this is someone who ends up on the practice squad because he's that good. But I could see another team sniping him as well.
That's
the risk.
Like, what about? Tuhill and James Smith-Williams will go in place of Henry. Or
look, I thought Tuhill played well last year. I thought he played better, almost at times better than James Smith-Williams, who I really don't see all the hype for. I mean, he's serviceable. But
I don't see Efe Obada going anywhere because he can play multiple
He's
spots.
So long.
On that line.
He's so long.
Yeah.
What's interesting is on the unofficial depth chart that they've done, they've put Efe Obada as a DT rather than an edge. So maybe that gives him a bit of an end. So it looks like he is Duron Plains.
Defensive tackle room is deep.
The whole defensive line. What you said earlier, we're going to lose some people that we're not going to want to miss.
100%.
We are. And that's a good problem to have.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
You just muted yourself.
Yeah, I did. I got a quick question for Ken, if that's all right.
Okay, sure.
You talked about Ricky Stromberg, and obviously I was really high on that pick, especially it being a 3rd rounder, and obviously being the best rated center in the SEC. He's come out of a high college background. He's come out of a very good school. Why is he do you think he's only getting 3rd round or 3rd string reps? And then we're being told by the coaching staff that he's a bit of a project. And that's not really what I want to hear from what we've invested in a 3rd round pick, especially when there were guys that were still out there that we could have potentially filled better on the offensive line. People like Steve Avila and others that were still out there at the time.
Definite needed center.
Exactly.
Well, are we overreacting early on without really knowing what we've seen so far? Now we're going to get to see him in a game situation. So maybe he climbs the depth chart quickly.
I hope so.
Yeah. So I'm on a wait and see pattern. And it's like Ben Standig said a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week when the depth chart first came out. He said, by the way, this is the team's first depth chart. We always get it before the first preseason game. And it usually doesn't mean anything. So don't overreact. Don't get excited. And every year, the media tells us that. Every year, I agree. When I saw him 3rd string, that's exactly the reaction I had. I'm not overreacting. I'm waiting to see him in the preseason game. So let's hold off. Now, in a week or two, we may have some answers. What answers? I don't know. We'll see.
Jesse, you've been waiting to say something.
Yeah, no, on the center front, and I kind of like this about Ron going into the draft. He knew he was this could be a potential lame duck year, but he still drafted for the future, and I appreciate that about him, and I think more people should, but they don't. You want a third round pick to produce right away. But listen, you signed a guy in Nick Gates that just came off a devastating injury. Yes, he's played, but you still don't know how healthy he's going to be. We've had the worst injury luck at center for the past multiple years. So maybe Stromberg doesn't play this year. That's fine in my opinion. But he's going to be here for the long term, and we could have a stalwart center for the next 9-10 years.
Well, I'll tell you, I like listening to John Keim, as everybody knows, because I always pull his name up. And what I caught on a bunch of his shows this week and his wrap-ups was one of the things about Stromberg that tags him with that project thing is he doesn't play guard.
Yeah.
And that might keep him inactive.
Larson does.
Right.
Yeah.
Larson does, and so does Wiley.
Gates.
I'm sorry. So does Gates. So with us, like you said, like I said last week, fourth string offensive lineman means October starter for us lots. So the fact that he can't play guard is, I think, what puts him in that project category. They want to see him be able to play guard. And I think they're patient enough to work with him for that. And I think that you see that they're patient enough to work with somebody when you look and you see that a name like Sadiq Charles is still on this roster. Remember, patience doesn't always pay off. And I want to see Chris Paul tonight win that job. I want to see I want his name put on that left guard job, and he is the one that moves up to the top.
I've been saying it since the season was over that Chris Paul was going to be our starting left guard.
Go ahead. Ken had, as soon as I said Sadiq Charles, his teeth grind up.
Go ahead, Ken.
I supported Sadiq Charles for the last 3 years, but I'm at my wit's end about it.
You just can't count on it.
Look, some guys are injury prone for whatever reason. It's unfortunate. And I like the fact that he keeps trying and that the team has faith in him. But at some point, you have to cut the losses. So with him being inactive tonight, that tells me just even more of what I think all of us know.
And he was drafted to be a tackle.
The point I really wanted to make here is that, I want to see Chris Paul. I wanted to see him seize that position. Yeah. But I think someone who could step up at left guard, and I think Scott has already figured this out, is a guy by the name of Braden Daniels.
Oh,
what was he, our fourth round
pick? I thought you were going to say Mason Brooks there.
His name is coming up a lot.
I think Mason Brooks is someone that I'm very excited about. Where I live in Collierville, Tennessee, just outside Memphis, if you go 1 hour directly south of here, you hit Oxford, Mississippi, University of Mississippi. Yeah. So we get a lot of Ole Miss and SEC stuff around here. This is SEC country. It's like a religion. You can't miss it. But the last couple of years, Mason Brooks really, really grew on me. I mean, he has the look. He has a boyish face about him, but if you look at what he looks like the typical Southern corn-fed farm boy that could pick up an entire bale of hay and toss it 20 yards.
Right.
I mean,
and move the truck under it with his other hand.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm excited about him. But I think Braden Daniels is someone to watch out for. And all of us have forgotten about him. He was chosen in the fourth round.
Right.
He has a place with this team.
He's making the team.
I know people have talked about him at left guard. And maybe we'll see that tonight. And maybe we'll see something good there. What I think is that he might be a better fit on the inside. So I'm saying
he has the athleticism.
He has the athleticism. He has the size. He is beefed up to about 312, 315 pounds, and he's still adding weight and bulk to that frame. So I say keep him in the back of your mind at the least.
Yeah.
What is he, Ken? 6'3"? Thereabouts?
Yeah,
6'3".
I've heard 6'4", but I think it's
That's
realistic.
a big boy. That's a big boy, that at left guard.
Burrow makes a point, and Scott Jackson, and I don't know if you misunderstood, but Logan really isn't struggling. He's
hurt,
got
right?
a calf injury. He's actually had a really, really good camp up until his calf strain. Bates, I love Bates. I think you're going to see a lot more for Bates this year, especially in the passing game. He is our best blocker. He was rated one of the NFL's best blockers as a rookie as well, too. I'm excited to see Alex Arma actually in the tight end room tonight to see what happens. You know, he came in as a fullback, but they're playing him more and more as a tight end now. So, wow. Yeah, and it's kind of that halfback type of position that he's playing. But yeah, you know, I'm interested to see how that tight end room's shaping up. I mean, listen, right now. With Logan on the sideline, and I have not heard one report whatsoever of Logan struggling.
Well, we just heard it from Andy Burrows. That's as credible as it gets.
Yeah, but it's just he just can't. He's struggling to stay on the field.
Right. Got Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas having problems.
That's Andy's guy, man. Logan. He loves Logan. He really does. That is his favorite.
No, I'm a big fan. I expect big things out of Logan Thomas this year. So if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be a top 6-7 tight end in this league.
I think so. It's the best friend of a young quarterback is a good tight end, and he's a damn good tight end as long as you don't think he's 15 feet tall like Taylor Heineke used to think he was.
But
by the way, he used to play quarterback.
Yes, if for those who did not know,
I mean, that point is made in every football game at least six or 10 times that he was a quarterback at one time.
Who's our announcer?
In this house
tonight? Chick Hernandez and Brian Mitchell.
Okay. In this household, Ken, one thing for we have also in our WhatsApp group for the UK guys is you have to take a shot the minute that is mentioned, and we take bets on how quick it will be before they mention the Logan.
I was going to say
quarterback.
You want to 4 minutes? If Joe Theismann was doing the game, you drink every time he mentions he returned punts.
Yeah,
which
4
is
minutes is the record so far.
Comment from Andy Burrows.
So defensively, all right. We started over here with Scotty. We'll start over here with Ken. Defensively, who are you looking at today?
Quan Martin probably
right
on defense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know that the team on the depth chart placed him on the outside, that he's not going to be there. Okay, that's not where he's going to play this year.
He can play there.
He's going to play strictly within the perimeter this year. He's going to be in the box at times, and sometimes he'll play deep. It depends. And what I want to see overall defensively with Quan in there is how the team, with him in there, is able to operate that 5-1-5 defense.
Yeah,
I think that's a defense set alignment that more and more teams are going to go to, and it's going to become like what the old 3-4 used to be. Mm-hmm. When the 3-4 was introduced, it was a new thing, and it was around for 2 decades.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The 3-4 is all but gone.
Yeah.
And even the 4-3 is getting close to being gone. You still have that in certain packages, and I get it. But you have more of the 5-2-4 alignment, and then in other packages you have 5-1-5. But I see in the next few years the standard becoming the 5-1-5. So I want to see in both of those alignments what Quan Martin will do and what he does deep and in the box.
Well, as you know, I always say, football law 101, number one law in the book is offense innovates, defense adapts. Yeah. So if defense is adapting to a 5-1-5, maybe that is why we saw running numbers tick up again last year for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah. I was
Jesse, you had something to say?
Go on, Jesse.
Yeah, I was just saying, just going off of Quan Martin, and I'm going to use a term that Ken absolutely loves. They drafted him for his positional flexibility.
Flex.
And
you've seen my
I saw it earlier. I just taking a jab at you.
I hate the phrase position flex. I just come to hate it so much. I'll have more on that in a moment. I'm sorry to interrupt.
The matter
that's quite all right. Interrupt all you want.
I think what we do is going to be a headhunter. And he, like you said, Ken, he's going to be put in that middle of that defense, and he's going to hunt heads. He is a big hitter. He's stout, he's stocky, and he's not afraid to get in it. So I think you're going to see him a lot in that Buffalo nickel. And that was Cam Curl's role that he excelled at so much. But Cam Curl's good at everything, and I think they want him back there to be able to produce turnovers, and he's been doing that very well this year. So they bring in Quan Martin, and you can stick the guy anywhere. If you need him to play outside, he can play outside, inside, Buffalo, deep. He can play it all. So I think he doesn't have a set role with this team, and that's okay. I'm not worried about that because you're going to see him all over the damn field.
What about you, Scott? What you looking for tonight? Well, I'm just watching the game tonight.
I'm not going to watch a game tonight because I'm at work. But
what are you pretending you're looking at tonight, Scott?
Exactly. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, the 5-on-5 fascinates me as a way to go on that defensive thing, and I think we will use that a lot of the time. 4-2-4 as well. I don't know which one we're going to use more as a positional, a base set, but that Buffalo nickel is something that we are going to go through continually. And interestingly enough, I think I'm super excited by the depth that we've got there. I mean, like we've mentioned as well, Percy Butler, don't count out Percy Butler at all. He's there as well. We've seen that Benjamin St. Juste is apparently having his best preseason in the slot. So, we've talked about Emmanuel Forbes. We've also talked about, we haven't even mentioned people like Kendall Fuller.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the depth is really, really good. And we were talking earlier about Christian Holmes, and I agree with you, Ken. I think he is on the bubble. And I think he's one of them players who I'm not so sure if he will make the team. But for me, I want to see tonight, really, the person I want to see what Phil Mathis is like. Yeah. I want to see if the investment was right. We've seen a lot of film from Alabama. We've seen a lot of the game wrecking that we've got. We had that depth with John Ridgway last year as well. So that's what I mean. Look at this front that we've got. When you're thinking to yourself, Ridgway, Phil Mathis, these are not automatic starters. These are guys that are going to back up the likes of your Jonathan Allens and your Daron Paynes, which just makes me. I'm really, really excited by this defense. I'm really, really excited, and I think this has the makings to be not just a top 3, top 4 defense. I think it's got the makings to be the very best defense in the NFL. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think so too. And what I'm looking for tonight, and Andy put it up there about the. And I'm lost. I've lost all of you. I've tried to open a link, and here you are. Oh, there you are. Sorry, you get lost in all of these browser windows. All the talk about the secondary on the radio today is as much of a worry in the past. Number one, I don't listen to the radio. I think there is nothing on the radio now that really interests me at all. I'd rather listen to some podcasts. I really can't deal with the radio. But the secondary, one of the names that I haven't heard talked about hardly at all in training camp is Derek Forrest. Yeah. And look, he was a ball hawk last year. He, like Jesse said, he came on really strong, but he has become either he's so entrenched that you don't even need to mention him, or he's persona non grata. And I'd like to think it's the first. So I think it'll be interesting to me tonight to see how much he actually plays. And that'll send me a signal as to where they're looking at him as a role on this team. I agree with you, Scott. I want to see Fedarian Mathis. I want to see. My dog wants to see this exactly what I want to see, which is Deshaun Watson eat his own fucking foot on television tonight. I want to see Fedarian Mathis get these fucking mutts out of here. Jesus Christ.
Like John said.
I don't want to see a player fail as much as I've wanted to see Deshaun Watson in all my life. I want to see him fail so effing hard that the Cleveland Browns can't even field a fucking team next year. Pardon my language. But goddamn it, that contract that they gave him is so effing stupid that by the end of the first quarter tonight, I want everybody in Cleveland acting like the way we act for the last 20 years. That's my God, everything's done.
The sky is falling.
I want them to pay for that stupid shit that they did.
Going back on the secondary. And
how are you? Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy podcast.
Look, in the past, if one guy goes down, so they get hurt early in the season, it's over. It's done.
Oh, dude.
Now,
I hate to say I want to see somebody get injured, but
we can absorb it. We can absorb that.
If Deshaun Watson is put out and his career is over, have you seen the cap hits they take?
Oh.
I want this to hurt them so bad. I want Jimmy Haslam, who is just as much of a scumbag as Dan Snyder, by the way, to have to stand up in front of everybody in the goddamn country and
really fuck things up right now. You're jinxing the hell out of us right now.
It's a preseason game. I'm not jinxing. Look, there's Dame Fortune at your door right now. All right, so.
You need some bottled water. I got some Fiji here.
I got some Dutch.
No, you need the good stuff
from Holland. I tell you who I don't want to see tonight is Tressway. All right,
from what I've heard,
good.
He's gonna hold for the punter. I want to throw this one to Ken real quick. Do you think this is the best roster that we've had since 2012?
Yeah,
unquestionably.
I think it's better. I actually think it's better.
It can be better.
It
depends on the quarterback play.
Correct.
This is a quarterback league and has been for a long time, has been for 2 decades. So if the quarterback play is just not there, then this is not anything comparable to 2012. But if it's there, if it's adequate enough even, then yes, this roster is better. If we get good quarterback play, yes, it could be substantially better. If Sam Howell comes out and just really has a great season.
Define great for Sam Howell, please.
We don't have all night.
You're right. Yes, sir.
No, I tell you what. Okay, all right. Let's say 4,800 yards.
That's great.
That's really good.
That's fantastic.
33 touchdowns.
12
interceptions because there'll be a lot of passing. And let's say because RPO is going to be featured, let's say he gets about 206 yards rushing with a couple of touchdowns. And is that pretty good quarterback play?
I think that's pretty good quarterback play.
Yeah.
Ken, I think if we're in that situation, I think we want to get that contract signed next year.
Yeah,
it's going to cost you down. It's going to cost you a lot down the road. That's for sure.
But do I see that happening? No. But do I see the potential of a very good season? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to go on that basis and say, yes, the roster is better than 2012 if that happens.
I'm going to say this, okay? Let's looking back on that 2012 season. You had Djax, you had Garcon, Alfred, and Robert. Those were your mainstays.
Yeah,
you had nothing on defense. I mean, our defense was terrible. They were terrible, and you had a offensive line that was okay, but Robert was running for his life. That's why that zone read worked so well. He was getting killed. I think from top to bottom, besides quarterback, because we just don't know it yet. In my opinion, I think this team overall, because of the depth we have at wide receiver, and now guys, listen, it's not just the top 3 that we have right now. I mean, Diamond Brown is starting to step up. You got guys like Pringle that we just signed.
Yes.
It's if something happens, if a player goes down, it's not like, oh my God, we're floundering like we have in the past. I mean, would it hurt if like a Jahan or Terry, knock on wood, something goes? Absolutely, positively it will, but it won't devastate.
Talk about
years past. I mean, a big player goes down and we're done. Our season's done.
Stop it. Stop all this talk about anybody going down.
Yeah, I was going to say the only area would be the offensive line for me.
That's the weakest part of the whole entire team is the offensive line, and then on the other side of the ball is linebackers. But we're not playing many linebackers anymore. So as we stated earlier,
in my usual August optimism, I've been reading, people like Adam Banig and whatnot who make a case and say they are actually going against one of the best defensive lines in the league. So my burgundy and gold blood goes, yeah, maybe they're better. Maybe they're pretty good, but we just don't notice.
I think they're going to be they're going to be better than what they're being made out to be right now. I still don't think they're going to be that good. I think they're maybe like 23 to 20, 22, 23 ranked offensive line.
What'd you say, Ken?
2 points I want to make.
Go ahead.
In regards to all this. I think there are parts of the offensive line that are going to be much better than we think. It sounds like Andrew Wiley and Sam Cosmi are gelling together and doing it pretty well. And I'm getting more and more vibes out of camp from that. So I think they're gelling as a unit. Now, Nick Gates at center, can he kind of complete the trifecta from center, to the right side?
Mm-hmm.
Hope so. So we have question marks on the left side. We know Charles Leno is not going to miss a game. He just is in there. And he's going to have his good time. He's going to have bad, but he's there. He's always there.
He's not great. He's going to give up a couple sacks, but he's there. And he's to me, he's like the Morgan Moses of pass.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit question marks on the left side. We'll see if it's answered. Braden Daniels. But anyway, I want to address De'Ami Brown.
Yes.
I'm not as high as maybe some are, maybe even here or elsewhere. To me, he's a one-trick pony. Run down the field, catch the pass. He does that well.
Deshaun Jackson did that well.
Yeah. Well, he also had a few extra, tricks here and there. But you're talking about a tree route that's just basically straightforward, go speed. Yeah, Sam Howell can connect with him in that regard. So maybe there's a few plays each game he's going to do that for you. But he's not going to – I'm not going to say position flex, but you want to have him have a bigger tree route overall.
Right.
At least 2 more routes where he could be effective. And also somewhat deep. Some sort of hook or some sort of slant about 18 to 22 yards downfield and the deep ball. If he had those 3 routes, what do you want to call them? I think, he could be. But De'Ami Brown, to me, is someone that is expendable after this coming year.
Well,
after the year, okay.
You very well could be right, and you do have a point about him. Maybe not being on the team next year. A couple things I've heard from Keim and the likes of Standing and stuff that they have been working Diami in some wide receiver screens and some quick slants and stuff like that too. So
that's speed.
And that's where my point comes across that maybe he is starting to come on a little bit with the rapport of Sam. And we got to think, man, he's the 4th wide receiver. He's the wide receiver 4. And in my opinion, that's not a bad place to be. After your top 3, you still got a guy that
with a threat like that.
With some speed. And I want to kind of point on something that Andy Burrows had put in the chat. In their prime, isn't he? Deshaun Jackson or Terry McLaurin. And I'm sorry, but I'm going Terry McLaurin all day because he has a much better route tree. Yeah. Deshaun was pretty much a go ball type of receiver. So I just
Deshaun got himself into a Hall of Fame conversation just by being that guy. So
Yeah.
Now,
we
I
talk
think a lot
about
of times when we see these comparisons, sorry, Ken, a lot of times when we see these comparisons, they're really not comparable. And I don't see those two as comparable.
Yeah, it is hard to compare.
Than they play the same position. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, we're talking about the things that we want to see tonight in the preseason.
Yeah.
I think another thing we need to remember is that we're not going to see everything, and the team doesn't need to show everything.
No, I don't want to see anything.
Let's go back to 2002. Steve.
Oh, the Osaka! Woohoo!
That's right. Steve Spurrier comes to town, and what does he do in the preseason? Opens up the playbook in preseason. How stupid can you be?
I thought we did pretty good out there. Japan, we played pretty good. Beat them up 32
That's pretty
to 7.
good. That's pretty good. No, that's when I knew that wasn't going to be a good fit at all. How he lasted 2 years, I don't even know. But then again, we opened up everything. And so I remember Steve Mariucci saying to him after the preseason game when they played the 49ers and killed them. That was the Remember Osaka game?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And he says, we'll see you in 6 weeks. Well, San Francisco killed them.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and we saw what happened. You don't open up your playbook, and I tell you what, with Eric Bieniemy, we're all excited about him, but I don't want to hear people saying after tonight's game or the next game, what did Eric Bieniemy bring to the offense? We haven't seen anything. Well,
dude,
duh.
Listen, we haven't been known to be the smartest. We haven't been known to be the smartest fan base in
any fan.
No, that's for
any
sure.
Of them. It's not just the words that I hate more than anything at this time of year is, when the starters were against the starters. Shut the fuck up! God damn it, you sound so stupid.
I was gonna mention here. There's a guy who's in a contract year that is not really getting a lot of talk, and that is Curtis Samuel. Yeah. What do you want to see from him this season? Because for me, I'm like Ken when it comes to with Ken on Dyami Brown. I'm kind of like that on Curtis Samuel. I haven't seen a lot with him.
I want to see something.
And it worries me. And everyone's just assuming, he's our wide receiver free. He's this Swiss Army knife. He could be a Deebo Samuel type guy out the backfield. We ain't seeing that. We haven't seen that in training camp. What's happening with him?
From reports that I've heard, he's there. He's been making
my groin.
Making plays here and there. Yeah, he was out like a day and he came back. So I'm not really worried about that. But I was listening to his interview. I think he was with JP Finley, sat down to interview. He seemed to be in good spirits, and I think they even said something that he has been lining up at different spots.
Nothing.
I think I don't see him coming back unless it's for a big discounted price,
10 million a season's a lot, Jesse. Do you know what I mean? That is a lot to give a wide receiver free.
And his last year, his production was fine. I was okay with that production last year. I blame more of that on the quarterback. But I did like what he brings to the table, and I'm sure Bieniemy's watched all the film on him, and so I'm sure they got ideas of what to do with him.
I got a couple more real quick points that I want to point out, and I know Ken wanted to call Jerry Jones. It's just an opportunity to speak to the man himself. Look, Dyami Brown, I think to have as your fourth wide receiver with the ability to take the top off the defense like that, even if he only has that one route, when he hits the field, all right, if you can somehow match him up on a single out, right, on a single up with somebody, if you can threaten that defense enough that they have to double up everybody else and leave him single up, you got a shot right there at 6 from wherever you are, and I like that. I agree. I'd like to see him get a little bit more in the route tree. I also agree that we probably won't see him next year. I know it doesn't happen very often, but that's a guy that's trade bait as far as I'm concerned.
Possibly.
You probably
he was also the number one rated contested catcher in the NCAA.
1 out of 3 last year, 1 out of 2.
So, no, I'm talking about in college.
In
college.
All right. Well, I don't care what people do in college because it means nothing in the pros. I really don't. And I hate to sound that way, but I said earlier, and I wanted to get back to it. What I'm looking for tonight is the 4, 5, and 6, 7 wide receivers. Those who I want to see 5, 6, 7, and the punt returns. I want to see punt returns. Let me see. I don't want to see one guy do punt returns tonight. I want to see all 4 of these guys out there trying punt returns. If we can force 4 punts, I want to see 4 guys return them. Let me see somebody win that job. And I also, a lot of people are down on Dax Milne, but it seems like he's having a pretty good camp and he's been holding lately too. So, hey, if he can do it, he can do it.
And he's asking if you're going to go to the game week 1, Ken.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He wants to know if you're going to come to come to a game this year, if you're going to be there week 1.
Was that Andy asked that?
Yeah, Andy Burroughs.
Yeah, we had him up on the screen there.
And some people know I have medical issues in life, and it's advanced to the point where walking is difficult. There are days when it's a huge challenge. For those who don't know, I have MS, diagnosed 21 years ago. And for a number of years, it was I did okay, not great, but the last about roughly 3.5 years have been some really some tough moments.
Yeah.
So traveling anywhere to a game, any sporting event, is just never going to happen again.
Yeah.
There, as some people know, I used to hike and camp a lot. And when I hiked, I didn't hike just 2 or 3 miles. I hiked 12 miles, 14, 18 miles. I did long-term stuff. And when I would do the camping part, I had 40, 45 pounds on my back in a backpack. So I would be off into the woods, wherever, for 3 or 4 days, and you wouldn't see me.
So you came back with a bunch of moonshine.
No, I didn't. No. I would go to areas that people really wouldn't know about. So I became real experienced at that. So I can't do these things anymore, and I miss it horribly. I miss going to games. I miss being there. I miss just doing a tailgate. But I just can't do this stuff anymore. And for me, being a fan, writing about this team, appearing on the occasional podcast, talking about them, and participating in that way, that's, when I look at where I am in life right now, that's pretty good. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. Yeah. So, no, you won't see me in person, but you see me right now, and so you'll see me on occasional podcasts, and you'll get to know me that way. And with the articles that I put out there,
which I enjoy reading them.
Yeah, and I tell you, I just love this fan base and all the people with it.
While you're on that, Ken, why don't you tell people where they can find your work?
Hogs Haven. Now, a lot of people are very familiar with it. For years, I wrote for Burgundy and Gold Obsession.com, BGO. A lot of those guys were the guys that started Extreme Skins.
I know them well.
I went over there with them, and so I started a blog and went from there. Then I was picked up by Rigos Rag for a number of years. I had 6 years with them until earlier this year. A lot of people thought there was a problem there when I left early this year, but there wasn't. I felt like it was time for a change. So I put it out there that I was a writing free agent, and within 2 hours, I was with Hogs Haven. I didn't. I didn't expect that. Hogs Haven is a great outfit, but so is Rigos Rags. There's just a lot of good opportunities out there for me to be involved in this way, and I'm glad people like it. So I enjoy contributing in that way and being a fan in that way and being a part of this fan base. That's where I'm at with it. So no, I won't see anybody ever in person as far as fanhood. There's a time I did in early 2000s. I met some of you, but yeah, that's not going to happen anymore unless you come to Memphis and want to see Graceland or the Bass Pro Shops Pyramid, which is a big attraction on the Mississippi River.
I might come down there to go to the
I'll definitely be calling you next time when I'm in that area.
Come on and
head down for some Beale Street Blues.
Yeah, exactly. Beale Street's a big thing. So, come for a visit. You'll have a barbecue dinner waiting for you. Yeah. Barbecue ribs, barbecue sandwiches, whatever you like. We know how to make it in Memphis.
This is our opponent in week 1. I want you to break down this film for us real quick. 1983. What'd you see there?
I'll let Scott start with that one because I've already seen it.
It just gets me every time, Ken. I think no, the feeling is mutual, sir. We enjoy you writing. We enjoy you being on podcasts. Honestly, it's especially for an exile like me who doesn't get necessarily the exposure.
You never lived here. You could if you wanted to.
No, I mean like an exile fan is what I'm meaning by that. I'm not, I'm over
That's
here.
Dan Snyder. We kicked him out of the country. He's
taken over Andy Burrows' football team, so we don't worry about that. But no, it's it's great to have you on, and honestly, keep doing what you're doing. We really appreciate you, especially over this side of the pond as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. We love reading your stuff. Love having conversation with you on X. Now it's called kind of weird.
Yeah.
But we know you're not going to be there in person, but you'll be there in spirit with us, Ken, and we'll have a beer with you in spirit, and
we'll pour one out for our homie.
Yeah, we'll definitely think about you.
Drink the bottled water. Here I am.
Yeah.
I did that a little bit. So
we're going to make a phone call here real quick. I think
so. Yeah.
Hello. Oh, dang it! God dang it! I picked up the phone. Stopped ringing again.
Jerry.
Hey, good. How you doing out there? Who is this?
Hey, it's Jesse from the Bleeding Burgundy podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. Now, listen, I got to tell you something. I should have never given you my cell phone number. We was drunk, and both of us was thinking we were going to have a little more fun than we actually ended up having. And I'd appreciate it if you'd try to maybe call through my. God damn it! I brought my dog out here on the boat. Now he won't shut up.
Well, we're going to be real quick. We have a guest on our podcast today. Ken Johannesen wants to ask you a question real quick.
All right, certainly. There's people out here on my ship doing some goddamn gardening. I don't understand it.
Mr. Jones, it's an honor to talk with you.
Well, thank you.
And
I'd say it's an honor to talk with you too, son, but I really don't have any idea who you is. I'm telling you. Listen, once I get out here around the equator, I just start hitting the tequila and everything goes fuzzy.
Well, the question I'd like to ask is something that was put out there this past week about Dak Prescott and possibly getting a new contract extension, seeking more money. And I know that you like him. I know the team likes him. I know the organization down there likes him. So I would like to suggest, a certain numbers, a certain parameter for a new contract.
I'd be willing to listen because I'm telling you, anything over $25 is getting outside of my range.
Yeah, I understand. But here, I think this would be fair to all sides. I think a contract, 5 years, 5 years in duration.
Right.
I think $1.25 billion with a $250 million signing bonus, all fully guaranteed. That locks him in. Yeah, you might be a little strapped on the salary cap, but you can find good players all over the place on the cheap. And I think you have your quarterback locked up long term, and he'll be financially happy. And I think everybody in the Cowboys operation will be happy. So what do you think about that one?
Well, I got to tell you something there, son. I might be drinking, but you sound like a dang fool. And, there's much of stuff that I'd like to do with Dak, but one of them is not pay him another goddamn dollar. I'm telling you right now, if I wanted a 5-year contract with somebody that can't win me a playoff game, I can go out there and sign that damn fool that's running the lawnmower outside of my window. Hey, what the hell's going on out there? Captain Pablo, move this boat. All right. Now, I like Dak. I like a whole lot of Dak. And one of the reasons I like Dak is he's just good enough for me to be able to sell a lot of tickets and a lot of jerseys and a lot of beer and a lot of sodas. Because one thing about being the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, as you know, we are America's favorite football team. We are a football team that is actually known as America's team, but we are indeed a global brand. And what that means is I got more than enough yokels and yahoos to keep buying Dak Prescott jerseys till the goddamn cows come home. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'd want to put that B on the end of that billion there that you talked about there, Ken, but I certainly like the idea of signing him on for another 5 years for $1.25 million. Because if there's one thing that Jerry knows, you don't have to win Super Bowls to make money. All you need is a bunch of fools. Go Cowboys. Oh, by the way.
On making money, you got a discount code?
I do have a discount code for everybody that's out there in the Commanders podcast land. If you come over here on to cowboysshop.com and you punch in washed up, you can get yourself 35% off of any Zeke Elliott gear that I still have laying around in the goddamn closet. Look, I don't understand what in the world it is. I thought I bought enough to be able to sell out, but Jesus, I'm stuck with a lot of them. So please come on over to cowboysshop.com right now and buy yourself as much Zeke Elliott crap as I can afford to stick in a box.
Well, I do need a couple of those items probably to wax my car with.
I'm telling you something right now. A Zeke Elliott jersey will wax your car to the finest shine you've ever seen. It would be just like Simon Eyes. All right.
Jerry, as always, we appreciate it.
I got a preseason game this weekend, I think. Oh, dang. I talked past while I was hanging up. Shit, this is all fucked up.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Bye-bye. God, that never seems to go right, does it?
No.
But it is fun. That was a good plan. I like that.
Well, I just want to know who's cutting grass on Jerry's boat.
I don't know. He's right outside my window here. All right, so actually, I do know who he is. I pay him, but God damn it, you can show up when I'm not doing a show. All right, so we got a football game in what, an hour?
About that, yeah.
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
An hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 20 minutes.
I would say, okay, everybody, enjoy the game, except for Scott, who's probably got to go out to Mick Haggis's with his wife.
Nice.
Or whatever for dinner.
It's 10 past 11 at night, John. The game doesn't start till...
It's Saturday tomorrow. What are you doing?
I'm at work. I'm at work at 6:30.
Hey, look, Americans are lazy. Saturdays, Sundays, we're off.
Yeah, I am too normally, Ken, to be
They
fair.
have a 6-day work week. They honestly work for a living. We're lazy bums over here.
No, not at all, Ken. You got this totally misconstrued here. The reason I'm in tomorrow is it's overtime, so I can pay for week one.
That's you go. What I'm in for. There you go. See, the work ethic.
Airfares are not cheap.
That's right. Well, thankfully, we all have a pretty good work ethic. That's why we don't know jack shit about football, because we've all got to go to jobs. But I'm glad you listened to us anyway. Good to see Andy Burrows and the other couple of people that are out there watching us. How are you? Good to see you. Ken, I thank you very much for coming and joining us today.
You're welcome anytime, my friend. It was great to finally get you on the podcast, and you can go find Ken at Burgundy Burner on the old Twitter or X or whatever.
Right, and over at say it again. Which site are you on?
Hogshaven.
Hogshaven now, not used to be Rigo's Rack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So read on Ken every week or every day.
Just one quick thing about that. Earlier this year, I had a pretty serious arm injury. I won't go into details about it, so it affected my writing, and so I've had to go. And I had kind of a relapse from that in May, and so I was back to writing about 3 weeks ago, but right now it's still a little bit dicey. But I've been told the next few days that they think it'll, finally have clearance that I can just go full speed. So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Right in time.
We'll have stuff to write about by that time, because right now,
exactly. It's been a bad few weeks where we've just been sitting here kind of chewing the fat between the three of us. Like, what are we talking about?
And
this
we've got enough
Jesse?
to chew between Scott and me, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, especially me, mate. Especially me. There you go.
Get out of here with that. We can pull up our shirts on the week one and compare who's got the most gut. Keith can laugh at us. That'll give us something. All right, then.
I see what Andy's saying here.
Yeah.
Stop with the legend stuff, okay? I'm just a guy.
You're right.
I'm just a guy.
You know he's a legend when he has to say that, right?
I mean,
the goat.
I'm just a guy.
I am.
All right, well, let's go watch us a football game. I don't really care whether we get a win or not. I just want to see Deshaun Watson fall on his effing face, and I want everybody on sports radio in Cleveland tomorrow to cry, oh, my God, what are we going to do? This is terrible. Oh, my God, this is awful. That's what I want more than anything out of tonight's game.
And we will be back Tuesday to talk about what we saw tonight.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time on the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast.